All right. Sound on a budget. Good topic. Right now, if I were to play live, if I can get myself back into a heavy metal band, this is a stellar sound through this. I can't imagine what this setup, just with what I got to set up right here, running through a bigger PA. Now, one thing about this Mesa Boogie cab, these are one of the best cabinets you'll ever play through. I guarantee you, I'm not saying that from ego. I'm just saying every amp I've ever been on stage with it, Marshalls, even Saldanos, and you know how good a Saldano sounds. This thing is the meanest little cabinet ever. And if you had some charcoal, you could put it on the side and have a barbecue. I'm not saying you should, but you could. You could. This sounds good for what I'm running. Like, I mean, this little tiny amp doesn't sound this good. Most of it's the cabinet, and of course you add the add-ons of these little speakers here. So you guys are not going to be hearing what I'm hearing for sure. You know, I'm getting the full effect of it. If I was on a stage right now, that's a nice sound. It could have a little more bite, but you know, I got to change my presets to get a little more aggression out of there. See what else I got here. There's not a lot of aggression on that one. Oh, that's blast. That is full blast. That is like speaker popping blasts. That is definitely chugging. The amp's only on like 2 or 3. That is crazy sounding. That's crazy. Wait, the next one's gonna be really crazy. Anyway, my next thing to do, I'm liking this. I love that blasting sound. That, you know, like it's just crazy. So there's limitations, obviously, to a 15-watt, $100 amp there, but that's half blown from, you know, years of abuse. But that is getting very close to this kind of sound I would love to have live. On a budget. Well, that's a loaded term, isn't it? Right? Like, I mean, how do you do this on a budget? How do you get a great sound on a budget? Well, modern amps could probably achieve that. This thing was $1,500 back in the day. I'm not sure exactly how you do this on a budget, but you can get, if you just add this and this for that'd be about $200 worth of equipment, and then you add your guitar. You can get a pretty good sound. You guys heard the sounds I was getting out of just the 15-watt crate and this G2 Zoom pedal. You can get some pretty good. I still got to dial this thing in some presets for this. I don't have presets dialed in for this, so I can even get better sounds. The trick with this is to get that good blasting sounding effect without blowing my speakers. I'm not worried about the mess of this thing. It just takes so much abuse. It has taken so much abuse over the years. Yes, I am a bad human being, but I sound great at it. Yeah, so if you're going to set yourself up for a live setup, this is what I would call a live setup. Obviously live, if the place had house PAs, I probably wouldn't even bother bringing these things, but you never know. Because if they throw an SM58 in front of this, that's great. If they don't, the volume I'm getting out of this thing, like, it doesn't sound loud. That's the deceiving thing about this amp. It's like, it doesn't really sound that loud, okay? Like this amp here, it's only 15 watts and I only got it blasting at about 2 or 3. I can't push it up any more than that. It just turns into mud. It's too hard for this to push that many speakers. So you gotta be careful when you're doing that, or you'll blow the head, especially with an extended range guitar that's so low. That low F sharp really is hard. You can hear it blurred, you know, getting some speaker crackle there. So I'm trying not to blow these speakers either. But that is a good sound. That is a good sound. For a transistor amp, that is a really good sound. Cabinet always never disappoints. Like that's a professional sound that I just got there. It's just a matter of tweaking it and dialing it in a bit more on this cheap effects pedal. So a good effects pedal and just some ways of putting volume to it could do it. But like if you ever get a chance to get one of these Mesabuki cabs, these older ones, these things are just fat. The new ones are great, but these things just look so savage. But they sound so good. It's such a tight sounding cabinet. I've probably played live with this thing, at least 200 or 300 times. You know, at least pretty close to 300 times, I'm sure. It's not the lightest thing to be carrying around, but wow, I haven't played this thing in probably about 2 years, probably. Just because, you know, it's like I'm always playing through the Hot Rod Deluxe or whatever. Yeah, I got to get a proper head on this thing. And I think that would just be tickety-boo. So I'm still like searching what kind of amp or head I would go for you know, for an extended range guitar, because again, it's this low end. You can hear how it blurbs out. Like you guys might just be hearing there's just a static on it. It's hard to say, but from where I'm sounding, it's like if you heard this in a bar or something like that, a band with this kind of sound, you'd just be sitting there going, that sounds so savage and killer. It's so angry. I love it. The only thing that could probably make this better is a Randall head on there. That would be just like, you know, I like a really aggressive head. I want that really big sound, really saturated sound. And this guitar, again, I'm not going to change anything on this guitar. These, I think, are 308 pickups. They're not one L8. They're either LHT 150s for the 8 or the 308s. I believe, I keep reading different things. I don't think anybody knows what's in here. It doesn't say on them, but I believe they're 308s. They're a nice pickup for this kind of style playing. Obviously, it's a heavy metal guitar, a heavy metal sound. If I was on a huge stage with this thing, with just this and this, and it mic'd by through the PA system, that would be just absolutely killer. And the thing is, you don't have to crank it that loud to get a good sound. Even in a bar, like I say, it's very deceptive. You're like, I'm only on 1 or 2. It's not very loud. Somebody comes into the room and starts talking to you. If you're not facing them, you won't even hear them. Like, it's that many speakers really fills in the room. I can feel it pushing the wind a bit behind me there. It's like even on 2. Again, I know I don't want to push this thing too hard because, you know, 6 speakers is a little bit much for this to be pushing, right? They're all 8 ohm speakers. So, yeah, on a tight budget, obviously you're probably not going to end up with something like this, but you could have this and get pretty close to that sound and just mic this. And I would gig with that. I mean, I've played this thing on stage probably about 100 times. That's why it's so, like, I mean, this little amp is, Crate don't make this model anymore. I don't know why. It was such a great little model. But I'd like, if I'm going to stick with transistor amps, like, I love tube amps, don't get me wrong. The tube amps are great. But I think the transistor amp seems to give you a little bit more, well, at these volumes anyway, say like at bar volume, like an average bar, transistor amp will be fine. But if you're going to be like a big stage, then you're going to want the tubes. But the problem is once you get something like this, you're going to get so much tube breakup, you're never going to have a clean channel. So it's, you know, I don't know what head's going to end up on here. There might be a Marshall on here at some point. Marshall is probably my least favorite amp, but they do, you know, like, Marshall are not metal amps typically, although classic metal, yeah. A 5150 on this would sound incredibly crazy. I know any 5150. The Mesabuki mini head on this is like a dream of mine. The 1 watt, 5 watt thing, because that thing is stupid. It is ridiculous what it'll do to your brain. It'll just melt it right there. It's awesome. Yeah. I love this cabinet blasting. I miss being in a band so much. Like I love playing live, like one man show and stuff like that. But there's just something about being able to like you just get so into it, like you're just sort of trashing the crap out of the guitar. This thing I got to work on my leads on it. It is a little bit tricky to play leads on it, and again I got to cut on my finger. Stupid me, making sandwiches. I never thought sandwich making could be dangerous, but apparently it is. So just watch, when you're playing around with sharp, for you musicians out there playing around with sharp objects, while making sandwiches, just be careful you don't cut the ends of your finger. But I do like the blasting sound I'm getting out of it. So that's kind of the sound. It's a bit nasally, but that can be cleaned up through, playing around with the EQ. So I'm getting very close to the sound I want. Like right now, I would take this if some guys called me up, say, hey, Wrench, we need a guitar player for the night. Bring that big beast of an 8-string. Let's knock the roof off the place. I'm like, done. I don't have to adjust anything. Ready to go. I just got to pick a clean channel and a dirty channel, and that should be good enough for me for the night. Then hone it in, because like when I get it honed in, it's going to be like a stellar sound. And regardless of what equipment you get, okay, this is like considered a budget 8-string, but technically it's an intermediate 8-string. It's not a budget guitar at all. I think this thing's going to run you $1,000, right? That ran me $1,500 and something with tax and all. That was 100 and something. That was 100 and something. The PA speakers were, I think the PA was $700-800 all with the PA speakers. But those make better, like kind of like, it kind of reminds me, you know what that those remind me of? The old ADAs. I don't know if you ever played through one of those things. Those things were killers, because it was like you were playing through hi-fi,